club policies, whatever your club policies wind up being, should be clear and well known to all your managers and sub-managers and your employees. We're not saying here today what your policies definitely should be, but we're saying that there shouldn't be any question about what they are. And in number 33, perhaps the most industry-changing recommendation, if you will, that we have here, and I can tell you that this came from us, this came from the Nightlife, not from the police department, is that we need to voluntarily start moving to a 21 and over for entry industry. The truth, in establishments that are not also restaurants, and at times that you're not also restaurants. Obviously, if you're a restaurant or you're a hybrid place and you're a restaurant until midnight and after that the kitchen closes and then you become a club, we're not talking about during the times that you're serving food and you're a restaurant, or if you have separate, really clear separate rooms or floors, the restaurant floor. We're not saying that 19 and 20-year-olds should not be able to go out to eat late at night. But the truth of the matter is, for bars and clubs where it is not a restaurant or food service has stopped or it's on a floor where there is no food service, we all know that it is increasingly difficult to manage allowing in under 21s and not having them consume alcohol. That's just the real world. Between the hand stamp and the bracelet and the secret handshake and the 42 things that you do to ensure that that 19-year-old who you've allowed in is not being served, you may be 100% successful with your employees, but you also would need to be 100% successful to ensure that somebody over 21 is not giving them a drink. And that's just very, very difficult in our establishments to do. So we're recommending that before the law enforces it upon us, that we voluntarily move towards a 21 and over policy, because if you can't get in unless you're 21, then all your IDing and all of that is taking place at the front door, and that takes a huge burden off your employees inside who are serving. We certainly, and if you can't live with that, we understand, but we are certainly recommending that in those establishments and during those times where there's bottle service, that you be 21 and over. Because then the difficulty of preventing somebody who is over 21 who's been served a bottle, or a group of people who are over 21 hopefully who've been served a bottle, increasingly that is really difficult to prevent them from inviting somebody to sit at their table who is under 21 and sharing a drink with them. So there's been a lot of legislative proposals, both in the city government and state government, to enforce to end bottle service, as an option. Nightlife Association has successfully fought that up until now, part of which is based on this recommendation that as an industry we voluntarily go to 21 and over, because the two issues about bottle service that are constantly raised are overconsumption and under 21 consuming. If you go to 21 and over, you're halfway home with handling the two problems that are associated with, or alleged to be associated with bottle service. The overconsumption is always an issue, and that's why if you take the Serve Safe alcohol class that's offered by the Restaurant Association or Nightlife Association, you'll be educated about overconsumption issues as well. What else? Community relations, the last section that I'm going to go over, numbers 42 through 45. This is really what we're here for, is that by doing this, by adopting these things, by creating policies that are in conformity with the best practices, you will develop a better working relationship with the police and the community. And that's all that we ever wanted, and that's all we've ever been asking for the 10 years that the Nightlife Association has been in existence. So we're asking that, specifically here, that in number 43, one more substantive issue about relations, is that you have a search policy. Now, and you adhere to it. Now, that policy, as you read here, could vary from no one is searched, because it's not the kind of place where searching is appropriate, to everyone is searched, to only bags are searched, or we do random searches. Whatever works for you and your establishment, that policy should be made clear to your employees, and part of the handbook that we're suggesting that you develop. Actually, that was I missed that one. Number 35, an establishment handbook. If you go back, just go back one page. Excuse me. Number 35. Every place should have, no matter what size, an employee and an establishment handbook. It's important for labor law purposes. We've been reading weekly now of a labor law, and it's an expanding area of law, folks, of lawsuits being brought against hospitality industry establishments by ex-employees on a variety of labor law issues, hiring, payments, overtime. You need to have, any labor lawyer will tell you, an establishment policy handbook that covers employee issues. We're also suggesting that it also cover these other issues, such as fake IDs, drug use, what to do if a weapon is recovered, who do you speak to, management relations with employees in those situations. Part of that policy, now going back to number 43, is whatever your search policy is, it should be clear that it is uniformly applied. Again, you call the police, they come to your establishment, the first question they may ask your door guy is, what's your search policy? Whatever it is, it's fine. They're not passing judgment on it. But they need to know, that officer first on the scene needs to know what your policy is and that it was rigorously adhered to. So if you say our policy is nobody gets searched or only women's bags get searched, well, they know what they're facing when they go into the establishment. That's all we're asking for and talking about over there. The last, and the Commissioner mentioned this, is, and certainly not least, is your precinct community council meetings. It's very important that all of you attend these meetings. They are open to all of you. You don't need a special invitation from the Commissioner or your precinct captain or commander to go to them. We urge that you go to them. It's amazing the amount of information that you find out when you have somebody assigned from your place to go on a monthly basis. You might even find out that somebody in the neighborhood is complaining about you by going to one of these, and you could diffuse that before 100 311 calls are made and the police start showing up. You also get to know your police officers and the police precinct people who need to police you, and you create good working relationships. You will then also have somebody who you could speak to when you get to hear later today how the police department has changed, and the Commissioner touched on this, their policies and how they're dealing with us if you have some concern that you've done what you're supposed to, but they haven't fulfilled what they said they were going to do here today. By going to your monthly meetings, you can have an open dialogue, and you could raise those subjects of how you got a disorderly premises ticket and there was no investigation. There was just somebody showed up and gave it to you, or whatever your particular issue might be. Those meetings are very valuable, and we urge you all to go to them. That's the end of my section. I'm going to introduce what we say in our group is the other Rob Messner. He says in this building, I'm known as the other Rob, although prior to all this, I was known as a lot of other things in this building. So I'll take being the other Rob. That'll do fine. But Rob Nestor is Assistant Commissioner for Civil Enforcement, very smart guy, very sharp. Very important guy, somebody who you only want to meet today because he does the civil enforcement nuisance abatement action. So hopefully you'll never have to meet him again other than today. He'll go over the next section, which is very valuable. And after that, there'll be Ed Young, and then we'll open up some questions and answers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I assured Rob before that despite the name thing, nobody's going to confuse the two of us. So